Are you tired of fumbling for keys or struggling with forgotten passcodes? What about worrying about whether you locked your front door on your way to work? Well, get ready to upgrade your home security and your peace of mind with the Aqara U100 Smart Lock. This sleek and intelligent device combines advanced fingerprint recognition, convenient mobile app control, numerous integrations, and multiple unlocking methods to give you effortless access to your home and complete peace of mind. Say goodbye to traditional deadbolts and say hello to a smarter, more secure future. So stick around because in this video, we'll take a look at the feature-packed Aqara U100 Smart Lock and show you how to get it integrated into your smart home. Hey there neighbors, this is Ryan and welcome to This Smart House, where we bring you the latest and greatest in smart home technology. Today, we're gonna be looking at the new smart deadbolt from Aqara, the U100. This lock seems to just about have every feature available on the market today, including a fingerprint reader and Apple Homekey support. It also integrates with Apple HomeKit, Google, Alexa, IFTTT, and if you have the right hardware, even Matter. Now in this video, we're going to be examining what comes with the lock, its various features, installation, setup, and integration into your existing smart home. So a big thank you to Aqara for sending over the lock for me to take a look at and for sponsoring today's video. All right, let's crack open the box and take a look at the U100. All right, so quickly let's open up the box and see what comes with the lock. Now when you first open the box, you may be tempted to just throw out this top cover. Not so fast. Hidden inside is actually the user manual. Now the inside unit of the Aqara U100 Smart Lock has a manual thumb turn and is where you install the 4 included AA batteries. The lock has an average battery life of 8 months, but there is a backup USB-C connection on the outside unit just in case the batteries die. Now, inside the back cover, it also has buttons for resetting the lock to factory settings by holding the reset button for 3 seconds, a set button used in programming, and a HomeKit pairing button. Now moving on to the outdoor unit of the U100 lock, it's rated IP65 for water and dust resistance, making it suitable for outdoor use. It can also operate in a temperature range of -31 degrees Fahrenheit to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. So now if we take a look at the front of the lock, we'll see numerous options for using the lock, and we'll go over some of those features as well. The U100 keypad actually has an anti-fingerprint coating on there to prevent your fingerprints from being left on the lock, which will help keep people from guessing your password. On that same subject, it's also equipped with an anti-peep feature, which allows you to include up to 12 numbers that include your code. This deters folks from looking over your shoulder and knowing which of the digits are actually your code. You can also create guest and one-time codes, as well as scheduled or periodic codes, depending on which application you have the lock connected to. Now the fingerprint reader has a recognition time of less than ½ second, making entering seamless. It also has a recognition rate of 98.6%, which means fewer fingerprint retries. You can also store up to 50 unique fingerprints on the lock itself. Now both the fingerprint and the key codes will work even if the lock is offline, so you don't have to worry about being locked out in case of an outage. However, you do need to have a phone connected or have your lock connected to a hub to add codes or fingerprints. Now, if we slide down the bottom panel, we can see the manual keyway. This is where you can use the included 2 keys. In addition to the physical methods, you can also control it through various apps and integrations, which we'll go into more detail later on in this video. But these include the Aqara app, Apple HomeKit, Apple HomeKey, your favorite smart assistant like Google or Alexa, Matter if you have a compatible Zigbee bridge, and even an NFC card. Now in the next section, which will go over the installation of the lock, we're going to examine some of the built-in automations and lock features. Now on the bottom of the Aqara U100 features a speaker and that USB backup that we talked about. So once we get the main lock body and its packing material out of the box, you'll notice 2 other boxes. These hold all the accessories. The first box includes 4 AA batteries, a spudger to remove the knob, and a mounting plate with screws. Now note there are 2 lengths of screws that can be used for the mounting plate and the outdoor unit. The second box includes a deadbolt, 2 keys, and a strike plate with covers. So that's it for what comes in the box. Let's head over and get it installed. Now installation of this lock is pretty standard. If you've ever replaced a deadbolt, then this should be pretty easy for you. I will point out a few unique items that you might want to be aware of for this lock. So the first thing we need to do is remove your existing deadbolt. Now this should be done with the door open, then install the new deadbolt. One thing to note is if your door is a little bit thicker between the deadbolt and the edge, then you can twist the deadbolt to extend it out further. Secure the deadbolt, then take your mounting plates and whichever screws you want to use and hold the outside unit in place, then place the plate on the inside and run the 2 screws in with a Phillips head screwdriver. Before you get everything snugged in, make sure you have the cable pulled through under the deadbolt so that you can access it from the inside. Once everything's tightened up, then grab your back plate, then connect the cable to the receptacle on the inside unit. Before we mount the inside plate, use the spudger to remove the thumb turn cover. This will expose the holes for the inside screws. You'll probably need a smaller screwdriver for this. Once those are snugged in, you can go ahead and reinstall the thumb turn cover and install your AA batteries. So now that the lock is installed and powered up, let's see the various methods that you can use to connect to the smart lock. So we're gonna cover setup for several different options, as there's many ways to integrate this lock with your smart home. So at first, we're gonna start with some basic usage. This is where you're gonna only need your phone to connect to the lock. Of course, this is the easiest method and you don't need anything else besides your smartphone. However, the limitation here is that you won't be able to control the lock when you're away from your home or set up any sort of automations. Now you have two options for directly controlling the lock. The first is using the Aqara app, and the second is using Apple's Homekey. Both options will communicate with your lock over Bluetooth Low Energy. Now you don't actually have to make a choice here. You can have it communicating both with the Aqara app and with Homekey. That's how mine is set up right now. So first, let's set it up in the Aqara app. Now of course you'll need the app installed and you'll need an account set up. First, we're gonna press the plus button in the top right-hand corner, then click Add Accessory. And then we can select Lock and select the U100. If you don't see the U100 on this list, you might need to update your Aqara app. Then we're gonna step through and follow the instructions to get the lock paired. So the first thing that we're gonna need to do is short press the setup button on the back of the lock. Of course, the back cover needs to be off for this. Next, the lock is going to ask us to enter a pairing code on the keypad. Then it will bind the lock to your Aqara app. Once the lock is bound to your account, then you can control it from your phone as long as you're within range of the lock. You now have the capability of creating new users and assigning them PIN codes and fingerprints. The lock will take you through a calibration process that involves first letting the lock know which direction is on lock, and the second part of the calibration is to set up the automatic lock sensor. This lock does not require a magnet or an external sensor to be able to tell if the door is open or closed. It does that with the onboard accelerometer, which the second part of the calibration takes you through setting that up. Now, once the lock is set up and calibrated, you can set a few of the settings within the Aqara app. The first of these onboard automations is auto lock. So if the door is closed and you have it set up in the app, you can have it automatically lock the door after so many seconds of the door being shut. Next, you have a do not disturb mode, which turns off any notifications or sound effects, except for alarms or things like low battery. And finally, you can activate passage mode, which will disable auto lock temporarily. This can also be done from the front keypad. And of course, all of these functions do not require the lock to be tied to a hub. Now, for the next section, let's talk about setting it up in Homekey. Now, setting up in Homekey is super simple if you have the right devices. So first thing I did was activate the Homekey pairing mode on the back of the lock by pressing the Homekey button until I heard the chime. Then go into your Home app, press the Add Accessory button, and scan the QR code that's inside the back cover. Once you do that, then it will ask you if you want to pair it to Home, then it'll bind it to your device. Again, similar to the Aqara app, you can now control locking and unlocking of the door. It'll also tell you the status if the door is unlocked or locked. Now, there is a firmware update that's available if you use the Aqara app that will enable you to run the calibration sequence from the lock itself. So I do recommend setting this up with the Aqara app first, then in Homekey. So that's it for the basic setup. Now, if we move to the more advanced setup, you're gonna need another piece of hardware. If you're wanting to use Homekey integration when you're away from your house, you'll need to use an Apple Home compatible device, like a HomePod or one of the newer 4K Apple TVs. The nice thing is if you want to use Homekey remotely, you need to do nothing else as long as you already have that hub in your Apple Home app and you pair the U100 with your Homekey. If you do have a compatible Apple Hub on your account, then when you click into the device settings, you'll notice an auto lock feature and remote control capabilities. Now this is about all it really adds when you bind it to a Homekey hub. You get the ability to do remote monitoring and management and setting up automations within the Home app. If you do live in the Homekey world, it's a good idea to go ahead and get this set up. Now, if you have a compatible Aqara Hub, like the M2 or the E2, you can set this lock up and bind it to that Zigbee hub, enabling you to have remote control and even greater features like Matter. All you need to do is go into the Aqara app, go into Settings, find Hub, click on the hub, and it will go ahead and bind it. If you do run into problems, you may need to move the hub closer to the lock. Right now, I don't know if there's any other compatibility with another Zigbee 3.0 hub. I checked Zigbee to MQTT and I didn't see that available. So for right now, it seems to be you have to have an Aqara Hub set up to be able to bind it over Zigbee. Once you have this set up, you can go in and create more automations and get notifications on your phone. Now, if you're interested in seeing more of these automations, let me know in the comments below and I can do a separate video on that. Now, before we move on to the last section, let's talk about the Home Assistant integration options. The good news is you can integrate the lock with Home Assistant via Matter. If you have an Aqara Hub like the M2 or E1 and it has the beta Matter firmware installed on it, you can interface with Home Assistant. In the Aqara app, go to Settings, Function Settings, and then click Bind to Matter. This will then present you with a Matter QR code and pairing code that you can use in Home Assistant. Then in Home Assistant, go to Settings, Integrations, Add Device, Add Matter Device, then scan the QR code. This needs to be done from an iOS or Android device. Make sure you're running the latest version of Home Assistant and the Matter server add-on. I did run into problems not getting the lock to work on an older version. So right now I get lock control, lock status, and battery level all in Home Assistant. Now the other method of integration would be to use the HomeKit integration in Home Assistant. This would mean you need to remove any existing HomeKit connection because you can only have one master connection. So you might need to factory reset the lock to do this. Then you put the lock in HomeKit pairing mode, and as long as your Home Assistant server has Bluetooth and is in range, it should be detected as a new HomeKit device in the integrations page. Then you can enter the HomeKit PIN and you're good to go. Once everything's set up in Home Assistant, then you can share it back into your Home app if you'd like, using the built-in Home Assistant bridge. So overall, I do think this is an amazing lock. As far as the build quality goes, I feel like it's gonna last. From the solid construction of the outdoor unit to the weather seals, I think this is gonna last quite a while. As far as the features go, I really can't think of something that's missing here. With fingerprints, app control, assistant control, NFC, HomeKit, and Homekey, it does about everything. Plus backup keys and a keypad. I definitely love the built-in automations and notifications to protect your little ones. I know all the iPhone users will rejoice over the Homekey support. I really wish I could explore this more, but you can pry my Fold 4 from my cold dead hands. Now it is a shame that you cannot rekey this lock, but I think for most people, those keys end up in a drawer anyway. I know I haven't used any of my physical keys on my smart locks since we moved into this house. Now looking at the price, right now the only real competition with any Homekey support is the Schlage Encode Plus. That lock runs about $320, but it also comes in a variety of styles to match your home. The U100 has an MSRP of $189 US, which is wild if you compare it to the Schlage. That's over a $100 difference. This even puts it in the same cost category as locks like the Ultra Lock and Eufy's offerings that do not have Homekey or home support built in. This even puts it in comparison with some of the older Z-Wave locks from Yale and Schlage. So overall, I do think the U100 is a great value for the price, especially if you're an iPhone or an Apple Watch user. And even if you're like me and you shun the iDevices, it's still a great addition to your home. Now, if you'd like to pick up one of these awesome locks, I have all the links down in the description. And of course, if you purchase anything from there, it goes to help the channel. Now this video is coming out right before Prime Day, so if there's any sales, I'll leave them in a pinned comment down below, or you can check out my annual Prime Day post on my website. So thank you again to Aqara for sponsoring today's video and sending over the lock for me to play with. And again, if you do have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments or jump on our Discord server. Now, if you are shopping around for smart locks, you can check out this playlist right here for all the other lock reviews that I've done. Thanks again, and I'll see you on the next video.